Well, welcome to this edition of our Opening Heaven's Door training course. And in this course, what we're trying to do is to just help us become the very best we can be at prayer ministry. And along the way, it's my great privilege to talk to people that are involved in the ministry and to glean from them some things they've learned along the way. And this month, I'm going to be talking to Sally Gorton. And Sally is the... Sally, what you tell us? What is your role here in this wonderful church, King's Church, Chesham?
Right, well, I'm the pastoral coordinator for the church, and as part of that, I've been helping to develop the prayer team that we have available for people after church on a Sunday.
Right. You're also a qualified counsellor,
yes,
aren't
that's
you?
right.
Excellent. Now, I want to start by asking you, what is it that drew you to our particular approach to ministry? Because, over the years, I guess you've been exposed to many approaches to prayer ministry. And I know, I hope you like what we do. What is it about our approach that particularly struck you?
I think what was particularly unique and I liked about this approach was that when people come for prayer, they are able to take away an experience with them of something of the Holy Spirit and Jesus, rather than, having somebody to pray over you, and good prayers are said, but there may not be the same sense of having that personal encounter.
Right. And so it's that, we call it encounter prayer, but that encounter is the central part of it.
Yes, that's what I found really attractive. Because, encouraging people to experience Jesus and the Holy Spirit for themselves in a way that they know that they can do again, not relying on having anybody else with them.
Okay. Now, I want to just explore a little bit about, in a sense, running a prayer ministry team, because it's, in one sense, it should be really easy to get some ministry in a church, but actually organising the team is in itself an issue. First of all, if somebody comes to you and says, I'd like to be on the ministry team, what do you say? Yeah, wonderful, on you come. Or no, okay, carry on then.
No, we would invite them on the next prayer team training that we have available, and introduce them to the model, and so they've had some practice with that and familiar with that, and then after that, we might invite them onto the team.
Right.
Yeah.
And how many are on your particular team?
We probably have, about 12 at the moment.
Right. How often do you meet together?
We meet together usually once a term.
That's fantastic. And what do you do when you meet with your team?
We like to hear from the team how they're finding the prayer ministry. We don't discuss anybody's personal stuff, so we don't ask them what people have been, to talk about what people have come for prayer, but just from their point of view as a prayer minister, how that went.
Right.
If there are difficulties, and where they get stuck in the model, where they have found I didn't know what to do at that bit, that sort of moment. So we will have a time discussing how it's all going, and also we usually look at perhaps one aspect of the model or an aspect of prayer that we have some sharing and teaching about as well.
All right. In your team of 12 or whatever it is, they would all be, individuals in their own right. They're all different. But would you say there are some particular qualities that they share? And if so, what are the qualities that, in a sense, identify your team?
They need to be a good listener. They need to appreciate the fact that they are not bringing the answer. It's the Holy Spirit who is bringing to the person the answer that he has for them at that moment in time. They need to be suspending their own judgment about things and not giving advice. So I think those would be key elements that we would look for always in a team member.
Those sort of qualities, you could probably look round the church and you could probably spot the people with those particular qualities, because they'd be like that with people in a coffee queue, not just when they're praying for people.
Absolutely.
Do you therefore, or have you in the past therefore, in a sense selected your team rather than them come to you? Because there you have in mind the sort of people you'd like to be there.
Yeah, we do invite people to come to the prayer ministry training. If somebody says, I would like to come along, yeah, they're very welcome to come to the prayer team training. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll be on the team afterwards.
Right.
But if somebody shows an interest in that, then yes, they're welcome to come to the training and learn.
When I was a church leader, I learnt a very painful lesson that it's much easier to give someone a job than it is to take the job off them when you've discovered it's the wrong person doing the job.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to say to somebody, actually, you'd be better doing anything else?
No, I haven't had to actually take anybody off the team, but there have been one or two occasions where I have stepped in to perhaps rescue a situation.
What, there and then? Yes.
There and then, or perhaps drawn aside to the person afterwards and said, did you get a little bit stuck there? What was it that you were aiming for there? And let's think about that again.
Yes.
Yeah.
That comes on to this whole thing about, grandly we could call supervision, on any Sunday morning, there could be any number of people involved in prayer ministry. How do you try and, in a sense, catch up with what they've been doing and how they felt about it? Are you able? Do you try and get on all the people on the set on the Sunday morning, or how do you do that? How do you, in a sense, supervise what goes on?
Okay. I do try and get feedback from the people that have received prayer.
Okay.
As to how they found it. I think that's quite a good way of seeing how things are going.
So you kind of intercept them as they came back from prayer, saying, "Was that okay?"
I wouldn't necessarily at that point, no. But if I know people have been to receive prayer, I might, the next time I see them, perhaps say, I noticed you were having some prayer ministry. How did you find it? Was it beneficial to you? And just get a little bit of feedback. Not to make it a huge thing.
Yeah.
Because no prayer minister wants to feel that they're being sort of put on the spot and big brother's looking or anything. Yeah. But we just want to make sure that people are benefiting from it and that it's going in the right direction, really.
And are people quite honest in that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they would be. Obviously, some people more honest than others. I did have one occasion where somebody said, well, actually that happened and it was a bit of a problem to me because I was engaging with the Holy Spirit at that time and that was a real interruption.
Okay. All
so, right. But then, it's a case of handling it with the prayer ministers in a kind way, because they're they're trying to do their best. They're wanting to offer the ministry for the right reasons, and everybody just does their best. And sometimes situations crop up that you're not prepared for. So it needs to be sort of grace all round, I think, really.
Yeah. And then you also try and catch up with the prayer ministers that have been doing ministry?
Yes. It may be that things are discussed in the prayer ministry team, not pointing out particular prayer ministers, but if it indicates there's an issue around. For instance, we had some prayer ministers were praying with somebody, and somebody else from the congregation thought they'd quite like to join in, and came and just prayed behind. They were doing that from the best of motives, but it did interrupt it for the person who was being prayed for, because they were unsure of who was behind them. They were in a place that they felt comfortable with in their process with the Holy Spirit, and to hear somebody behind them sort of muttering and praying was not really helping. So in the team we discussed, well, what should we do on those occasions? How do we gently say to people, actually no, not just now, without being rude or offensive? And
having that opportunity to discuss things as a team, or what would you have done, how could we do this better, is actually very helpful, isn't it?
Absolutely. Because we can all be caught out with that, and not, you think, crumbs, this has happened, so what am I going to do now? It's not always an easy situation.
No.
And I think if we can support each other as a team, and be free to talk about the bits that haven't gone well without feeling that you've suddenly got a great big sort of hammer coming down on your head.
Okay.
It's important.
One of the, I suppose, fears, if you like, of people involved in prayer ministry is that they could find themselves, if you like, out of their depths, and that they're suddenly involved in something that they don't know what to do. And what would you say to them? On a Sunday morning, you're up there and suddenly maybe somebody says something, or something happens and you just don't know what to do. What would you say to somebody in that position?
Well, you could call somebody in that's in the team, that's there as well. Get somebody alongside you to come in and help. I think, though, not panicking is important, and just giving space to see what the Holy Spirit does and what He does. I think it's okay to say, okay, this is what you said. Just let's wait and see what Jesus wants to do and say about that.
Because I think that generally our tendency is to do exactly the opposite, isn't it? We want to try and say something or jump in there to try and redeem the situation. And, not to panic when you are panicking is quite a hard thing. But it's okay to give space, just to be quiet and to wait.
Yes. Yeah. And that might be the very thing that will be helpful to the person that's wanting the prayer, that they've been able to say something, perhaps that might have been difficult for them to say, and you're just taking a step back and accepting that, and making room for the Holy Spirit.
It also, I suppose, raises the issue that we don't have to do everything on Sunday morning. If somebody does share something quite deep or something quite painful or something that is out of your depth, you can say, let's put a pause button. I mean, is that what you do? I mean, how would you do that then?
Yes, I mean, certainly you can suggest meeting up with somebody at a later point in the week to pray through it again. But I think just being able to deal with the immediate impact of them saying it for them is important at that time. So if they said something that's quite shocking or very, very difficult for them, or a huge thing, allowing them space to think about, well, how is the Holy Spirit responding to me? How is Jesus responding to me now I've said it? What am I getting from him? Because at that moment, he might be just saying, well done for saying that.
In other words, that the very moment, it might be inconvenient, there might be other people waiting, it might be lunchtime, but because they've raised it then, that's when God might be doing something. Perhaps in response to something in the service or the sermon, but that is when something is happening.
Yeah.
And honour that.
Absolutely. It doesn't mean it needs to be dealt with then.
No.
But they have said it then. They have recognised something needs to be dealt with then. And so, what is the next thing that Jesus and the Holy Spirit wants to say to them about that? Because I don't think he'd be saying, well, we'll just forget that you've said it and now we'll just deal with it.
Yeah.
As I think maybe parents would with a child. You know, if your child comes and tells you something, well, you respond to the fact they've told you.
Yes.
Before you move on to do anything.
Yes.
And I think we can so quickly get into fix mode, or something's got to be done with this,
Yes.
that we don't let Jesus come and say, put an arm around and say, do you know, I'm really pleased you've told me that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it's that listening, in a sense, to the whole moment, what is going on.
Because the person isn't really telling me, they're telling Jesus.
Yes.
And he needs to respond to that, not me.
And once we adopt the fix mode, we lose that, don't we? Because that's when we get in the way and we start doing things, which hopefully he is doing something as well.
Yes.
I want to just talk about, in a sense, expectations. One of the, I suppose, features of ministry in a, it's an ordinary, but no church is ordinary, but a local church, is that we're ministering, in a sense, the same pool of people week in, week out. And, we don't have to do everything now. Often at a conference, there's that sense it all has to be done before the conference ends. In church, there's always next week. There's always the week after. Does that affect people's expectations, do you think, of what God could do now?
I think when something is on offer week after week, there can be perhaps a tendency to think, oh, well, there'll be an opportunity next week, so, I don't have to particularly do anything with it now. Or, oh, well, I would like to go and have prayer ministry, but I've also got to go and see so-and-so about the coffee rota, so I'll do that. And by the time I've done that, probably there's not time for the prayer ministry. So lots of things crop up in church, I think, that can work against somebody perhaps coming forward at the end.
Yeah, okay. And perhaps just finally, in your role, you are, of course, you're under the authority of the church leader, the pastor.
Yes, that's right.
And in some roles, I suppose it might be the pastor that is the prayer ministry leader, but it's not for you. How do you relate to the pastor in what do you report back to him? What do you keep as confidential? How do you feed back to him what is going on amongst the people that he pastors?
Well, I meet with Rob, our pastor, on a monthly basis.
Right.
And at that time I would give him sort of feedback on how things are going in various different avenues that I'm involved in. And so part of that will be discussing the prayer team and how the prayer ministry is going, and him giving me feedback as well about that and any difficulties.
In the sense that he might be picking up things just from his general overview of what's going on.
Yeah, and how things are generally working in the church. We have a prophetic team as well, and how we work alongside different teams is important as well. So all that is discussed.
Try and bring a balance to what the church offers.
Yes, that's right, and how the teams work together.
Yes.
And I think it's important for teams to understand each other and work alongside each other well.
Sally, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.